house is in the Hollywood Hills. The specific location is what's known as Sunset Plaza, which is a super centralized location for the Hollywood Hills. It's just adjacent to the Byrd Streets, which is an area that most people in Los Angeles know. And it's also about 3 minutes down the hill to the world famous Sunset Strip, and it's also a few minutes away from Beverly Hills. So very centrally located. I think one of the reasons people love to come to Los Angeles is for the ability to live both indoors and outdoors. And the Hollywood Hills in particular are the absolute personification of that. One of the things that's most desirable about this particular location is the fact that it faces due south as we sit in this valley of rising Glen. So the sun is going to rise on the east, which is up to your left, depending on the perspective you're seeing it from the property, and it sets obviously due west, which is just to the right. When you're standing due south in your backyard, looking down south towards sunset, you're catching that sun exposure all day long as it rises and sets. Home is really thought of as a sanctuary, especially coming out of this post-COVID environment. Everyone's priorities have kind of changed. And I think the inspiration when this home was being built was really to model it after some of the world's finest resorts. So when you're in the home and you're in proximity of your beautiful pool, of the amazing materials that you see in a property like this, you're almost able to just take a deep breath, relax, let the stress of the world fall away, and then just unwind in your sanctuary. I think a lot of times, a lot of developers, when they're thinking about the process of what it takes to actually make a home speak to a general or broader audience, it's this oftentimes notion of form over function, right? What's going to work aesthetically versus what's going to work functionally. And I think those that do it best find this way to kind of congeal the two together to really make it an amazingly beautiful home to live in that also functions and serves itself very well to the way people live today. In terms of the development side of real estate, I think something that oftentimes gets lost is this notion that people have to build bigger in order for it to be better. All that being said, I can certainly appreciate both perspectives, but for me personally, I love when a home is done with passion, with pride, with this notion of pride of ownership. And when that's done as a sense of purpose and passion, I feel like the home really comes together in a way that, unfortunately, most developers just tend to miss out on.
My name is Michael Rosenfeld. I am the developer of 1718 Rising Glen. As this project was going on, it wasn't just like, how does the house look? It really is, how does it feel? And it's important when you're building a home to have a feeling when you walk in here. And this home has one of the best feelings I've ever felt in a home. It's warm. People say that it almost feels like you're getting a hug from the house. We, starting ground up, we used 12-inch white oak, 8-foot planks all throughout the house. We use Styline. They have a very thin line detailed window and door. We use that for our pockets and sliders. All the walls in this house are a product called Clayworks. It's an organic, environmentally friendly clay that gives this textured wall, and it is absolutely beautiful. What we were doing as builders, as early as 5 years ago, we were doing very wild stones, and we're doing a lot of grays and a lot of darker tones. And as the years went on, we just started toning everything down, and it started becoming more organic and simplifying things. Bringing the energy a little down, it started warming up the homes, and I just stuck with that. The house flows in a certain way, and it doesn't change throughout the house. It stays consistent. Yeah, for this project, we brought in Yara Design to help with keep making sure we stayed with the themes throughout the house, meaning how is our cabinetry going to play off the stone. And I sat with Yara and we looked, and I really trust her opinion when it comes to architectural finishes. And we looked at stone next to counters, next to floors, next to tones of walls, next to lighting, and really with her and her team, we put the vibe together. And as far as the furniture, it was Desiree Partovi at Ovi Studios who worked with me in choosing every single piece that went into this house. I never thought anyone could be as obsessed with detail and design as much as I am, and she was right there with me.
This home in particular is actually a super easy home to show. It's really manageable in terms of the size, at least by Los Angeles standards. I think, by the rest of the country standards, this would still be considered to be a somewhat larger home. But one of the things I personally love about this home is that it all lives on one level. So when you come into your motor court behind the gate, and you open this beautiful pivoting front door, immediately you're met with this kind of grand entrance. It just opens right on up into one large living space. And you also have super high ceiling heights. So in addition to having a great layout, you also have what we call really amazing volume in the house. You never really feel claustrophobic in this space. It always feels like it's open, bright, and airy. There's this really nice delineation between the sleeping quarters of the house and then the main living space in the house, and it all really meshes together beautifully. The primary suite is arguably one of my favorite rooms in the entire city. It is beautiful. It has these amazing vaulted ceilings, super high. It kind of slants a little bit, which gives it this really dramatic sense of view perspective, so it captures the view really beautifully. There's this amazing pocket sliding door that goes linearly along the south side of the property. So you just open your door, you pocket it away, it completely disappears, and now the indoors and outdoors kind of become one. In addition, as you turn north, sitting in the primary suite, we have this amazing bathroom, which is completely built out of plaster and travertine, and then we just have the white oak on the floor. That's all it is. I think one of the themes of this house in particular is minimalism, but learning how to use really simple materials to come together in a way that seems simplistic, but in the end ends up becoming incredibly elegant. And this house did an amazing job of meshing these materials together. Those elements, when used in a way that, is done with thought and intention, really tend to come together to create environments that kind of lend more towards this notion of relaxation, of tranquility. When you're sitting in this house, whether it's on the interior or the exterior, it's a very emotional experience. There's certainly a vibe here, and that certainly plays into the psychology of a buyer when they're coming through. You want to have this notion or the semblance that you feel when you're at home in your sanctuary, that you have the ability to just take a breath, to unwind, to relax. It's just like putting on ambient music at the end of the day, or drinking your glass of whiskey or wine. I think this house does all of those things, and it just lends to this experience of what it's like to kind of live in current day and be able to take all the hustle and bustle and the stress that you have in your day-to-day and then just leave that at the door, come on in, sit back, relax, and just unwind in what is truly meant to be home.